Well, welcome to the Soleymani collection. Now that I'm retired, I have decided that I'm going to give a little bit of time in creating some content, mostly revolving around cars. My love for people that know me are cars, watches, and so on. And I think as someone that actually owns these cars, instead of a point of view from a journalist or someone that may borrow a car for a little bit, I figured I will throw my hat in the ring and discuss some of the cars that I own. Some will be in short format, long format, and so many people have messaged, hey, instead of posting 1 minute reels on Instagram, can you please do more in-depth driving impressions and so on? And I found over the years that I'm really not a collector, and I'm more of a car enthusiast or driver, you may say. And there's places for both, and I actually appreciate and love collectors, because in my mind, when I think of collector are people that buy cars simply for the aspect of collecting, having it look good, putting it in a garage, putting it in a museum, and hoping most of the time for an appreciation in price, but really don't drive the cars. And the reason I appreciate those collectors because it allows me to pick up a car like this, that's a 1990 car, and I only had 3,300 miles when I got it. So because without those collectors, I wouldn't be able to own a car like this. So the idea behind, and please, before I start, share this video to your friends, colleagues, uh, especially for people that are interested in cars, horology, and so on. Would love for you to follow and subscribe. And the idea really behind it is, and if you check out the channel, there are some pretty solid contents from the past, but I've been so busy with the better medical practice that I exited earlier in the year that I just haven't had a chance to really donate any time to creating specific content. I don't do this for business to make money. It's really to share the love and passion for cars, watches, and so on. So what other car better to reboot the channel and start talking about cars than the legendary Ferrari F40? This car has some important details. The first production road legal car that crossed 200 miles, 200 miles, and went 201 miles. Last car that was signed up for by Enzo Ferrari. And whether you were a Ferrari fan or not, the F40 is one of those cars that was everyone's poster in a bedroom wall somewhere. And myself, it's well known that this is actually my first Ferrari. I've never owned a Ferrari, and I've been critical of Ferrari in many ways. Some of their newer stuff, not been really a fan, but I've always loved Ferrari, their heritage, especially the older stuff. You know, you talk about a 288 GTO, F40, F50, 16M, Scuderia, 458, and modern stuff. I do some of the modern. I love the entire SP series. I love the LaFerrari, and hopefully one day that will be added to the collection. But really, some of the stuff that's been downsized in engine and hybridized, really not a fan of, honestly. So this car, the plan is I'm going to give you a little bit of walk around, show you some details of the front clamshell, engine bay, because even as someone who's been into cars, loves cars, really had not seen the details of an F40 up close. And these are not super rare cars. It's believed that somewhere between 1,311 to 1,315 cars were made for the world. Out of those, a little over, I think 200 were US made cars. US made cars are significant because they do not have the fuel bladders. They have the actual metal fuel tank, so you don't have to go through that problem. And they're just 6 times rare. If there's 1,300 plus cars made and only 200 or so US cars, they're just a rare example. And you're dealing with miles instead of kilometers on the dashboard and so on. So this car has recently had his 2026 Classic K update done. It's almost too good to drive now. And that's the problem and dilemma that I'm dealing with, which goes back to what I was saying earlier, that I'm really not a collector. I'm more of an enthusiast driver. I want to drive these cars. What I would love to hear from you guys, and please follow my Instagram if you're not following it. I would love to get some messages, comments of what other things you want to see. Currently, there's a lot of cars in the collection. There are 2 Paganis, Pagani Huayra, Pagani Utopia. The Utopia is a 7-speed manual. They're both matching number 67 of 99. There is a Lamborghini SVJ63 Roadster, Huracan STO, Huracan Sterrato. There is a 4 McLarens, a 675 LT Spider, a 765 LT Spider, a 1-of-1 Senna, and a McLaren P1 as well. I recently announced that I'm getting a 788HS allocation with roof scoop, so I'll be traveling to England in a couple of months to get that spec, so I will keep you guys. There's a lot of other exciting cars coming that I cannot announce. I also do have a Valhalla coming in September and have confirmed my Revuelto SV allocation. And again, there's some other exciting cars that are coming that, because they have not fully announced publicly, it's under an embargo, so I cannot discuss them. Also a Chimera 39, which I love that Chimera. So the idea is initially to go through my individual cars that I own, give you my driving impressions of them, and then I'm thinking of doing some kind of comparisons of the cars. A lot of people want to know, hey, which one do you prefer, this or the Carrera GT? By the way, I did forget, I do have a Carrera GT. What else do I have? An 812 GTS, a 550 Barchetta, front engine, manual transmission. So there are some pretty, and a 992 GT3 RS. So there's some exciting cars in the collection that I'm really happy to share with you guys. And really, this is about driving and what does it make you feel to drive these cars. Because in my opinion, these days, it is not about speed anymore. There was a time that you compared 0 to 60, quarter mile, yada, yada. But listen, if 0 to 60 or quarter miles is your thing, then just go get an EV, because, you know, a Tesla Plaid or a Lucid Sapphire is faster than 99% of hypercars out there. So really, speed is not it. It's the driving emotions and dynamics. This car, by today's standards, is not a performer. You know, it's a 500 horsepower car, you know, weighs around 3,000 pounds. And I am sure the Mercedes AMG GLC 63S that my wife drives would destroy this in a quarter mile, or pretty much almost anything else, even around the track. So let's go and delve into this car even more. Beauty up close on the different angles, because believe it or not, as many cars that I've owned and driven, I'd never really spent much time or really had seen too many F40s and appreciated how it looks and how modern it looks, despite being more than 40 years old, essentially. So of course you have the pop-up headlights. These 17-inch wheels are kind of iconic. You have the shield. This car itself is in such a great condition, never been painted. And to see the car in this format, you know, again, I keep thinking that even though this car is a 1990, this car came out in 87, as a model year 87, introduced in 86, and essentially it was designed in the early 80s. So we are, you know, a car that is several decades old, that if you did not know and you just saw this on the street, my God, it looks better than most modern cars. It's very, very basic, and car is completely essentially made out of, you know, Kevlar and steel, and the interior is sparse. Now these are brand new seats done by Ferrari, because these things over time, the foam breaks down, the cloth becomes all wrinkly if you see them, but this is not. The rest of the car is pretty bare, as you can see. All carpet. There is no door handle. You have this little slit here, and to open the door, again, there is no handle. You pull on this cable and the door opens. That's it. You have roll-up windows here. Your seat belt attaches from the center console to here. And what else can I tell you? Of course, you have the 5-speed gated shifter, The AC in this car blows so cold, it's actually pretty amazing. I'm actually shocked. Better than most modern cars, because I think it's just such a simple design. And you have your fuel, oil temperature, water temperature, you have your boost gauge, you have your, this will operate your pop-up headlights and your signals. And believe it or not, this was a push start. So when you want to start the car, you put the key in, you turn all the way. When the lights go on, you hit the start button and the car starts. But that is essentially your interior of an F40. So now let's look at with the front clamshell. As you can see, inside of this thing is all Kevlar. And it's extremely rare to find an F40 with the full luggage set, the original luggage set. All the pieces. Pretty impressive. Ferrari toolkit. And you can just see the condition of this car. It continuously impresses me. Even this foam on this radiator. Every wiring, I can't believe that this car is so mint. Now let's look at, now I can tell you this. You can, which I did, remove the rear clamshell by yourself, but not recommended. I have never felt a heavier clamshell in my life, and I still don't know why it's so heavy. And you basically have to one-handed lift this thing up, feel like you're doing a military press, and then, so while you're holding this up, and I would say this is probably, this clamshell weighs 70, 80, 90 pounds. So while you hold that, then this, which is a two-piece that bends here, you have to remove it, assemble it, because this thing fits into here, and place it there this whole time while holding the clamshell with sharp edges with the other hand. But here she is in all of its glory. Again, a beautiful engine bay. This does have the LM exhaust, catless, new tires, and you can see even the intercoolers. Usually when you see these cars, all these have been smushed together and they look pretty bad. This thing looks, I mean, if you look at the lines, transmission, as you can see the turbos on either side. So as much as I love cars, I had never really seen an inside of an F40 engine bay. So here you go. Here's the car in all of its glory. Now, let's go for a drive and see what I think about the car. So many people have asked for driving impressions of the Ferrari F40, and we're going to take her out for a little bit of a spirited drive. Some of my impressions. I've already put a couple of 100 miles on the car. Obviously, it's not a car that I put thousands of miles on, but having driven all the analog cars I've driven before, I think I have a pretty good sense of what this car is about. So it is the most analog car I have ever owned. I mean, I thought the Carrera GT was analog, but the Carrera GT is like a Rolls-Royce EV compared to how analog this is. And I think there just needs to be, now it's become like a very cool word to say analog, and everyone calls everything that is not a hybrid analog. But I think we're almost come to a point that we need to have different words. And I would almost call this 2007 model, and you know, as you can tell, bare minimum interior, all carpet. There's not even a door handle. You got a little cable here, and you pull that cable and the door opens. Door cards are all carbon fiber. You got a fixed steering wheel, non-adjustable, no power brakes, no power steering. So when I say it's analog, it's analog. Now we're still not fully warmed up yet, so I'm only revving it to about 4,000 RPM. This car does have the LM exhaust, and it is catless. And my gosh, she does sound glorious. And you hear all these pops and crackles, and you hear the wastegate of the blow-off valve. It is kind of intoxicating, I have to say. The immediate things that you feel driving this car is the steering is very direct, and I think the fact that because obviously it is no power steering, it feels very connected. You have to remember this is I believe a 2.9 liter big turbo car, so it is laggy. You know, when I had heard that this car has lag, I think we're all used to like some turbo lag. This is one of those, like, you floor the car, even in the right gear. I mean, short of you already winding it up, but you floor it and then you wait, and then it feels like the hand of God. One thing everyone has said: do not floor this car unless the steering wheel is pointed straight. This car obviously has no traction control, no smooth control. You are in the hands of God, if you believe in that. So, but man, if I find some nice open places, I will give you guys some top end feel on the car. hard to, you know, there's a lot of things that you romance and you fantasize from afar, and sometimes they meet your expectations, sometimes they don't. this car does so many things in so many different ways. You have to constantly keep in mind that this is a 40-year-old car, so you're not going to compare this against any